looking good, Italian Job?
I'm feeling good, Tommy boy. Man, it is good to see you again. We took some time off. We had a July 4th holiday in between. Let me see. Hold your hands up. I want to make sure you have all your digits. Good on you. Well
Still
done,
here.
sir. How are you
Still
doing,
here.
man?
Great. Peaked. I copped a peek at your workout on July 4th. That was impressive.
Ooh,
Very
that was tough.
impressive. I'm still nursing some injury, but I went out and in preparation for upcoming Grill Rucks, threw on 40 pounds and went 12 miles. The goal was to keep it under a 15-minute pace.
Ooh.
And that was a reminder of how hard Grill Ruck is.
Yeah, that's moving. Sub 15 with 40 on your back. That's
Took me back to Grill Ruck
shuffling.
17 with Shredder screaming at us during the speed portion to move faster. So that was my motivation.
Oh man, been there, done that. Got the T-shirt, literally got the T-shirt.
Yeah,
and I'm wearing one of them today. I'm wearing one of them today.
Tune in on YouTube to find out. But
that's
yeah,
exactly
here we are.
right.
I'm fired up for it.
Excellent. You and I were talking earlier this week about a subject that has been breached not only in your region, my region, regions around the country, just in general, talking about guys going from the gloom in the morning and carrying that momentum through the rest of their day. And I've done something, Tommy boy, I've never done before. I've actually written an introduction. It's brief for our guest. I've never done this before. So if you don't mind, Tommy boy, I would like to read 2 lines, very short, very terse.
I'm a fan of your writing, so take it away.
Well, this would fit on a tweet. It's very short in character length. Our guest today is a leader of men. He's an adventure seeker, a survivor, a thriver, a motivator, a world traveler, illuminator, president of his company, brother, father, husband, and friend I can count on. He's a Grow Ruck cadre, CEO and Nantan of F3 Nation. He's a guy I'd follow anywhere. Please welcome John Slaughter Lambert to the Stuff Worth Trying podcast.
Wow.
Hey.
Wow, man. I mean, boy, did you write something. That is flattering as hell. Thank you.
I will Control C, Control V and send it to you. You can put it in your LinkedIn profile. How's that sound?
Yeah, that'll confuse my followers even more.
Well, thanks for joining us today, Slot Dog. I guess, we normally ask the guy to tell us a little bit about himself, how he got the name. I personally know the story, but many guys don't. So Slaughter, how long have you been part of F3 and how did you get the name?
June 6th, 2012, a man named Mighty Wynn, who lived in my neighborhood, our daughters played softball, said, "You might like this. Meet me in front of your house, 5 a.m. on your bicycle." And away we went to Ranger. Swamp Fox was the cue. Last name Lambert, Silence of the Lambs, Slaughter the Lambs. That's how I got my name.
Tommy boy, did you know that story?
I did hear that story. It was, I don't know why this always goes back to Grow Ruck, but it was under 120-pound sandbag with that guy. And,
yeah, that's right.
We needed something to talk about that was not the weight that was on our shoulders.
Boy, did we.
Indeed. Well, Slaughter, listen, I really just want to tee it up. And again, thanks for carving out some time. This is an important conversation. I had noticed in a couple different regions, Greensboro is close to several regions, a trend, and then the trend became a pattern, and it just kind of rang a bell for us to talk about on Stuff We're Trying. And ideally, guys will hear this conversation and take it back to their region and have these conversations in COT or cafeteria or wherever, but at least have them. And the trend was something was happening to a small handful of guys that after that workout stops and the F3 shirt comes off, they slide back into old habits or old patterns. And at first I thought it might be just me thinking I see something that doesn't exist, but then when it became a pattern, I couldn't ignore it. So reached out to you just to kind of have this conversation of what is it? Do we have a name for it? But what's the cause of guys being superheroes from 5:30 to 6:15 in the morning, and by 7 a.m. they've slipped back into Bizarro Superman. And so I'm not going to tee it up any more than that because I think this is an open-ended conversation. But I'll let you kind of take a run at it from here.
Yeah, I mean that's the subject. I mean, what you're asking, what you're talking about, what you're experiencing in your regions is why F3 exists. I mean, anybody that's been listening to this podcast knows there's a lot more to it than the workouts, right? We're trying to build high impact men. We're trying to improve our communities. and that doesn't stop at 6:15 in the morning. We all know that. But the question is, why do men struggle with carrying all of those disciplines, mindsets with them into their family and work lives? That's the question. And what I think the answer is, well, it's hard. It's really difficult to do. The workout is the easy part. Like I was telling you guys, if anybody doesn't know, I'm in recovery 17 years now, and I went to a residential treatment facility, and I know lots of men who have. Going to recovery is the easy part. It is very regimented. They tell you what time to go to bed, what time to wake up, what to think, what to do, what to wear. The workouts are the same way, right? You know what time it's going to start, you know what time it's going to stop, to apply yourself, listen to what the guy who's the Q says, right? The hard part starts when you walk out. I'll never forget, I was a little boy. I grew up Catholic. I went to St. Anne and Charlotte Catholic, and I was going to church, and it was raining one day. And the homily that day, the sermon talked about helping your fellow man. As soon as we walked out of that church, there was no awning, and all of the patrons were trying to get to their cars. And the people that were leaving weren't stopping to let people go to their cars. They're making them stand in the rain. And I'm thinking to myself, we're not 5 minutes out of church. What's wrong with this picture? And I think that's exactly what you guys are talking about. And so this goes back to kind of my whole premise on your impact to the world. None of us are going to be Mother Teresa. Our impact is not going to be that great. Just like in life, there are no home runs. There's certainly no grand slams. I read about them in the paper, but they're not for guys like us. Our lives are a series of base hits, right? All we hope to do is to get on base more times than we get out. That's it. So when you go home and you've got this entire world of responsibilities resting on your shoulder, it is difficult. Don't put it on the too hard pile. You just need to pick out one thing that day to do better, right? All you need is a flipping base hit. And if you go back to what you just experienced that morning and what you may have experienced on a larger scale, like at a grow ruck, you'll know exactly what to do. Open your eyes and look all around you, get out of yourself, and the answer will present itself. But I think guys get caught up in that whole big pile of responsibilities that inevitably faces us by 7 a.m. And they don't know how to act. And normally when people don't know how to act, they don't act. One last story back to when I tell my story in an AA meeting or something. When I was drinking, I was not very responsible, and I was not very accountable. I wasn't a good friend. So after I got sober, I told everybody that listens to my story, I got a job. And what I did was I showed up every single day and I worked all day long. And they thought I was a genius. They thought I was the best guy that ever happened. I failed out of school twice. And I went back in my adult years after I was sober. And I also report to my listeners that I went to every single class and I did all of the homework and I got straight A's. It's no mystery, right? You put the work in, you hit the base hits, and you're going to end up where you need to be. Don't be intimidated by the larger problem. How do you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time. I think that's what F3 teaches us, because you don't go to a week's worth of workouts and you've achieved your fitness goals. It takes months and years in a goal, little pieces at a time. So I think that when men can manage their own lives in that same way, they're more successful than if they try to eat the whole elephant at once.
I have a question. I have a comment, I guess, to start off with. This reminds me of something that Zig Ziglar once said. He said, people often say that motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does showering and bathing. That's why we have to do it every day. We have to do it daily. And it's the same thing here. The motivation of a workout can wear pretty thin. I like to tell guys when I cue a workout, I hope this is the hardest thing you've done today. I hope that by 6 a.m., 6:15 in the morning, everything else is downhill. But the three of us know the workout is the easy part. It is exactly what you said. I mean, when you're the Q, you just have to count to 3 multiple times. Everybody else just follows suit. You'd have to know when to do an inflection on that 1, 2, 3 at the end. That's all you have to do is a cue. Plan it and do it. When you show up, you just have to show up and follow the cue and lead where he goes. But those challenges that are inevitable and waiting, it could be work challenges, it could be spouse challenges, family challenges. These things are going to be there. What makes men rise to the top? How do they handle those challenges? What do they do when the ugly world hits them in the face? How do they handle it?
What F3 does is it gives us the confidence to know what we're capable of. If you've heard my speech that I routinely deliver at the end of a grow ruck, I say, you know too much. You know what you're capable of. All this discussion of the workouts being held outside and being difficult is to make us more durable, so that in the face of adversity, which might mean your daughter just got dumped by her boyfriend, or your wife got a bad medical diagnosis, or things that happen in our lives. That's what that confidence and that durability means. Because you know that if you couldn't do another damn burpee this morning, but you did 10 more, well, then I can hold my head up high and smile when my daughter tells me a secret about something that I would normally lose my mind over, right? I can do that because I have the confidence that I gained from my experiences in F3. So I think those two things are the answer.
Yeah, I keep finding a connection or a correlation between that turning off the switch that shouldn't be, that F3 switch that shouldn't be turned off, and being afraid or resistant to asking for help. Somewhere in there too. I mean, when you were sharing your story about going into treatment, at some point there's a moment where you're asking for help, and that's a validating. After you go through all the BS and all the hurt and the pain and suffering, there's validation on the other end of that journey, and it starts with asking for help. And so,
I'll tell you this, Tommy boy, not to interrupt, but I know I did. It's not knowing when and how to ask for help. It's having the humility to accept it. So when I walked into treatment, for example, I didn't trip over a couple of wine coolers to get there. My ass was thoroughly kicked by this guy. Just like when I go to workouts in the morning, I might walk around and tell my F3 stories and seem kind of big and bad. I'm usually not first, right? That's a humbling experience. This morning was no exception. That heat and the humidity was on me, brother. And I was struggling to keep up with the guys I wanted to keep up with. So I think it's that same humility to keep showing up, knowing I'm not going to be first, serves me well in this world to be able to do what my wife says and walk in the gas station and ask for directions, right? As a man example. But yeah, I think it's the humility more so than the actual act of acting. It's of asking. It's the humility to accept the help. Yeah,
I completely agree. That's great. Yeah. And we've said it here before, asking for help is not giving up. Asking for help is the refusal to give up. And I think we've gotten that wrong. The sad clowns of the world have gotten that wrong for a long time. Being a former sad clown myself, I know I'm guilty.
Well, and the thing that I often forget about is that the people that I'm typically asking help for, and a lot of it are my F3 brothers, them giving the help is actually me helping them. Mm-hmm. This is the kind of thing, if you want to keep it, you got to give it away. So by asking for other people's advice, for help, whatever it might be, I am bolstering their confidence in what they're doing and making them feel like a contributing member to the relationship that we're in together. So it's kind of a selfless act when you think about it. So all of what I just said for me is wrapped up in that humility, realizing that it's not just about me and what am I going to look like if I ask for help on whatever it is, right? And the same thing is true in sobriety. They say the exact same thing. If you want to keep it, you got to give it away. F3 works the exact same way.
And I think one of the things that we as men need to do is keep each other accountable. That's why we talk about shield locks and whetstone relationships, because when you're that close to the guy and you see that he's slipping, you need to call it out. You need to say, hey, man, you really have been acting a little. What's going on in your world that's causing you to do whatever the thing is? So often in life, we are so afraid to call out what someone's shortcoming is, because what if they don't like me? What if they get angry at me? What if I say something that offends them? But quite honestly, if I need to be, most people are not going to call me out. My wife will, because she knows me. She knows my heart. She knows what I'm capable of. And when I'm slipping, she will call me out. But you know who doesn't see that? My wife doesn't see what I do in the gloom because it's 5:30 in the morning and she's asleep. But Tommy boy, you see it. Slaughter, you see it. If you guys see me half-ass an exercise, I expect you to call me out on it. If you see me start doing something, acting a little bit different, I expect you to call me out on it. And I hope that you guys expect the same candor from me if you guys were in that situation. So that's something we've got to watch out for. It's not just accepting, asking for that help, but sometimes it's seeking the candor from a brother who will tell you what they see, because the only way we're going to get better is if someone calls you out, because you think you can hide it. You think, and every guy that I know that has something that they're hiding, and let's be honest, we all are, we think that we're experts at hiding that thing. But guess what? You can't hide it all, and you need to let someone in to tell you, stop the shit. Let's get this together. You're better than this, and I know you are.
Well, I mean, and it's your pride and your ego that'll get in the way of those conversations. At the end of the day, other people's opinions of me are none of my business anyway. You can't you can't control that, nor should you let that dictate your behavior, because it's going to get away of your personal progress.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot. There's always a lot to unpack, but at the end of the day, it really is simple. It's put in the work. Surround yourself with guys who are going to hold you accountable. You build your guardrails, and rinse and repeat. I love the analogy of the base hits. That's exactly what it is. And celebrate them for what they are. You got to first, right? Now you got another 90 feet, and you got another 90 feet, and another 90 feet. And in this game, right, there's not so much a home plate that we're reaching for. I mean, there is, but we don't know when we're going to get there. It's not for us to say. But those
much
base
larger
hits,
diamond.
yeah, those base hits, they freaking matter. Well, final thought, Slaughter. Like, I don't like Italian Job said, we could go on all day and talk about this.
Yeah. So my final piece of advice on this subject that has served me well is something I call the empty restaurant syndrome. When you go out for dinner and you're the only ones in the restaurant, or it's slow, you typically get bad service, right? Because the waiters or waitresses, they're not engaged, they're not running around, they don't have much to do. You get better service when the restaurant's full and they're on their feet. Conversely, when the restaurant is too busy, you get very poor service because there's too much for your server to handle. So I try to treat my life the same way. If I don't have enough filling my days, I'm not very efficient. I waste a lot of time. If I successfully fill up my days so that I've got plenty of things to do, I stay busy. I'm not watching much Netflix, that kind of stuff. I'm taking care of business. And obviously, if I've got too much going on, I don't serve any of those needs very well. So the empty restaurant syndrome. I think in your work and personal and F3 life, make sure that it's full, not too full, and make sure that it doesn't have any gaps in there, because we know what whose work the idle hands are.
Bingo.
Italian Job, anything from you, my friend?
Man, I could say I could read through a Rolodex of things that I've written recently that just tie in well with this one. I'll just read one of them that popped up a few days ago. Some days, not a day of the week. You keep putting off what you know you need to do, you'll never get the outcome you desire. You start today and make those incremental steps toward the ultimate goal. That's the way you go. So that's what I'm going to hold it out on. Let's be candid. When it comes to these types of conversations, the only way we're going to be a better contributor to society, a better husband, father, friend, coworker, business leader, whatever it is, insert the blank. The only way you're going to get better at that sort of thing is to work at it. And you get bigger muscles by doing exercises. You get a smaller waistline by eating less calories than you're bringing in. It's those base hits. It's those simple things that you have to do, must do, have to keep, lather, rinse, repeat. You have to do the small things because those small things eventually add up to big things. So keep pushing, keep striving, keep doing not just the fitness element, work on your fellowship, have those relationships with guys around you that are needed, and invest in the faith, whatever your faith is, realizing that there's much more out there than what you think. You are not the center of the universe. I'm not the center of the universe. And the moment you do think you're the center of the universe, everything gets out of proportion. So just keep striving, keep making those, swinging for those contact hits, work your way through the lineup. That's the way we're going to get better. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm honored to spend the gloom and have friendships with you men, because you make me better. And if anybody ever needs any motivation to run through some brick walls, talk to Slot Dog, talk to Slaughter, attend to Grow Ruck, listen to his story. Some of the things that he didn't mention today are things that I hold on to every day, and I tell other men. And I encourage you, I implore you to do the hard thing and keep doing the hard thing. That's what's going to make you a better leader for your community and your family, the folks who need you the most.
Well said. All right, Podpackers, you got homework. Take this weekend, run an inventory on yourself, find the thin spots, pull somebody into that conversation, and get sharp. It's that straightforward. Find the thin spots and get them fixed. But don't do it alone, because you got a whole army beside you, to your left and to your right, that are there to help. And they're there to ask you for help as well. Fellas, thanks for carving out time. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. Until then, be good, or be good at it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Pow. Well done, fellas.